Hi guys, today we are finally back with another fountain pen video, and this is going to be a first impressions video. So as you can see, this is a Delike fountain pen, and it's actually the Delike Brass Traveler's fountain pen, I believe it's called, or the Delike TN Brass Element. I've seen it with some different names, but basically just the one that looks like this. And as the name suggests, it is made out of brass. First things first, the packaging, it came in this blue tin, which is, I think, a pretty nice touch. It is a fairly inexpensive pen because it is a Chinese fountain pen, but it still came with a nice tin, which is great for storing things. But as you can see, my box did come a bit damaged. There are some indents, but I don't really mind that much because I didn't really buy it for the box. I bought it for the fountain pen. And as you can see, there would be no problem with the fountain pen and shipping because there is a very thick foam. So that is a plus. But also, I would think that you would buy a brass fountain pen for the durability anyways. So hopefully this pen is durable enough to not be damaged within shipping, even if there wasn't this foam. This pen, I think, looks very pleasing to the eye. Some things I would like to note though. I don't like how this cap isn't flush with the actual body of the pen. There is a little divot, which I don't find that appealing. I think it would look a lot nicer if it was smooth to the body. But then again, it is only a $10 to $15 pen, so I guess it's understandable. Something else I would like to mention is that there are these fake grooves on this side. It is a thread off cap, and the threads are very smooth. And then you can actually twist to cap the pen on the other side. So this being a brass pen and hearing a lot about, I guess, how heavy the pen is, when I'm holding it in my hand, it feels very nice. It doesn't feel that heavy at all. I was expecting something a lot heavier because of what people were saying, but then again, I haven't actually written with it yet, so we'll see if it makes a difference while I'm writing. The threads on the inside of the cap are actually made out of brass as well, so that definitely helps with the durability aspect of this fountain pen. The threads seem well made everywhere, and I think the entire pen is actually made out of brass. The threads on the inside of the body are also made out of brass. So the entire pen is made out of brass, other than, of course, the nib, the filter, and the converter. So that is definitely a great plus because I know that the other Delike brass fountain pen that is modeled after the Kaweco Sport actually had plastic inserts. People had experiences where the plastic threads, are actually completely came out or completely stopped working, and when you can't screw the cap on properly, the fountain pen is practically useless because the nib will just dry right out. So I like that they made this improvement. And since I just brought up that the last Delike pen is modeled after the Kaweco Sport, I thought I would just talk a little bit about my thoughts on this, and this is purely just my opinion. If you've seen this pen floating around, then you'd probably know that this Delike is modeled after the Kaweco Lilliput or the Kaweco Supra. It's kind of an in-between of those two sizes. The Lilliput is a very, very tiny pen of the same shape, and the Supra is a larger full-size pen of a similar shape. It is the very minimalistic, kind of domed pill-looking pen, as I've seen people describe it. And I very much appreciate that minimalistic aesthetic, which is what drew me to this pen. In my opinion, I won't say whether it's morally correct to blatantly copy someone else's intellectual property, but in this free market economy that we have, it's just something that happens very, very often, not just in the fountain pen market, but in every single market, no matter if it's clothes, skincare, makeup, literally anything. When someone comes out with an idea, the chances are that someone else will copy them, no matter what industry it's in. The difference is with fountain pens, I think fountain pen users really want to support different types of companies in order to keep them going, because the fountain pen community is generally smaller than those big, huge industries like clothing or skincare. There isn't as big of a market for it. So I can understand the necessity to contribute to these big manufacturers in the fountain pen world rather than giving our business to these knockoffs. But the thing is, those types of competition, in my opinion, actually benefit the consumers for whatever reason. We don't want to spend exorbitant prices on certain items. But I also think that these products or these copies serve as a great way to gauge whether you'd actually like the original product. So for me, I actually am interested in purchasing a Quaker Lilliput. The Lilliput, not the Supra, because of my tiny hands. So I'm actually very interested in that. So I wanted to see whether I would like this type of design and this metal pen. Of course, it's not the same size, but it would give me a good view into whether I would like it or not. So I think that you can make your own decision based on what your morals and ideas are, but that's just my perspective on buying these types of pens. So now back to the actual pen. As you can see, the body is actually threaded. It's not completely smooth. I didn't think that would bother me at all, but when I see it in person, it looks different than from the videos or the pictures that I've seen before. To me, you can kind of tell that it's a cheap type of threading. It's very obviously just machined from one singular needle probably, and it's basically just like a scratch all the way down the barrel of the pen. Let's see if I can get a closer view. Hopefully the camera is actually picking that up. I don't necessarily hate it. I mean, it is a fairly inexpensive pen, so I can't really gripe with the appearances too much. But I just wanted to point that out because that's not something that I saw through pictures. And I want to point that out to you if you're interested, and that might be something that you're worried about. Something else that kind of throws me off is that they made these fake threads, but then the bottom and the top don't match. So this part has kind of the same threads, but then this cap part is completely smooth. So I don't know why they bothered to match the cap with the threads if it wasn't going to completely match. But then again, I'm just being very picky. But other than that, the appearance is nice. It's just a minimalistic pen. And I guess those design flaws aren't really something that you would notice, if you weren't looking at it closely. But that just is something that I'm noticing right away. And also something that I'm noticing is that don't get this pen if you don't want your hands to smell like metal. That kind of seems pretty self-explanatory, but this brass pen isn't coated, so it's just pure brass. So when you hold it or write with it, you do get the smell of brass on your hands. If that doesn't bother you, then perfect. And if that does bother you, then I don't really know if this is your pen. But something nice about it not being coated is that this brass will actually form a patina with wear and with use, and I think that's also a very nice touch. I think that's also why a lot of people like to use brass pens, because it grows and beautifies with use and kind of turns into this antiquated look, which is very appealing to some people. But a downside that it's not actually coated is that this is Chinese brass. So there have been kind of disputes and claims that there is lead in this brass, because adding lead to brass actually makes it easier to machine. And with China's standards, people were saying that this pen probably contained lead. So that could be a health hazard. So I don't necessarily know if that's true. I don't have a lead testing kit to my disposal. I might actually try that in further videos just to see whether it actually does. Honestly, I think that it probably does. So if you are pregnant or if you have young children, I would definitely recommend skipping out on this pen, at least for the moment. Other than that, I think that this pen should be completely fine to use. If anything, don't soak it in water and drink the water. If you are using the pen and you want to be cautious, just wash your hands after using it and try not to touch your face or eat while you're using this pen. I think overall, I think it's perfectly fine. Honestly, everything around us is practically poisonous for us, so it's up to you. It's up to your discretion whether you would like to take your chances with this pen or not. But I think overall that's about all I have to say about this pen. These are all things that I was considering when I was deciding to purchase this pen, and that's basically what I told myself. The thing about brass, though, is we are in a pandemic right now, and brass is actually antimicrobial, I think the word is. I am so sorry if I said that wrong, but brass actually doesn't allow bacteria or viruses, if I'm correct, to grow on the pen, so it's actually pretty sanitary, and I think that that's actually a really great thing to have during coronavirus. So I did buy this pen with the intention of making it my daily carry, the pen that I would write if I was writing in public or outside. So I just rinsed out the feed with soapy water, and let me talk about this converter for a second. This converter is kind of like, it seems to be modeled off of a platinum converter, but it just looks like it. It's not going to fit on a platinum pen. But also something that I wanted to note is when you twist this, even if you just twist this actual part that's supposed to twist the converter up and down, it's very easy to just twist out this actual nib section. So I think I just would like to tell you that in case you want to be cautious, because when I was cleaning the pen, I was actually, maybe idiotically, I don't know if I'm the only one that does this, but I was actually holding this section instead of the actual converter so that I don't really know what my intentions were, but that's what I was doing, and I actually ended up screwing out the nib section a little bit. So I would like to say that just for you to know. But I think that's about all I have to say for now. The converter works pretty smoothly. I don't really have any gripes. it felt a little bit loose to me, but that's just because I was holding on to this section. So once I started holding on to this section, it felt pretty normal. But now for the most important part, the writing part. So I will go fill this up with ink, and then I'll be back and let you know. And then I'll be back and we'll see if this nib is actually any good. So this is the Delike brass fountain pen. Wow, okay, that's really nice. I actually got an extra fine nib just because I haven't seen any reviewers with an extra fine nib. They always got the bent nib, and extra fine nibs tend to be a lot scratchier than thicker nib sizes. So I wanted to actually test whether their nibs would be good, and wow, this is honestly better than I expected. This is actually even smoother than my Hongdian Black Forest. So I am very, very impressed with this nib. This is the Diamine Autumn Oak. This is the Diamine Autumn Oak ink. I'm so sorry for my handwriting, by the way. I'm just trying to write fast. But let's see. I definitely wouldn't say that this is incredibly smooth, but it is definitely very smooth. Just comparatively to many fountain pens, and especially with this extra fine nib. So let me just let me just stop talking, and then you can listen to how the nib sounds. And then let me just scribble and write a little faster. So as you can see, it keeps up very well. There's no feed issues at all. And of course I did rinse it out, so that definitely helps on that front. But overall it seems very, very nice. I'm actually pleasantly shocked. I didn't expect that much out of Chinese fountain pens, which I don't know why. I have quite a few and they're honestly fantastic, but I don't know, this is just really, really nice. I've heard good things about the Delike nibs, but I also actually heard a lot of bad things, or not a lot, but I've actually heard quite a few bad reviews of this Delike nib, especially the extra fine. I heard quite a few people saying that it was scratchy, but as you can hear, it's really not that bad. Actually, I would say it's quite smooth. I think with just some writing, I think this would become an absolutely phenomenal nib. So let's see how wet it is. This paper is pretty absorbent, so it makes it look even drier than it really is, but it's definitely not the wettest writer, which I would actually say is a good thing for a daily carry pocket pen. Let's see if it writes in reverse. As you can see, it does write in reverse. It's not awfully scratchy like the TWSBI is in reverse, but I wouldn't enjoy writing in reverse. And honestly, I think this extra fine nib should be small enough to write comfortably on even cheap paper. I think that's about it. I'm just kind of trying to get a better view of this nib. Let's see if it has any flex to it. So as you can see, that's the nib flex, and then that's just normal. And as you can see, when I flex the nib, of course, there's a lot more ink flowing out. So definitely not a flex nib by any means. I don't want to stretch it too much, but it has a pleasant flex. It's not as stiff as nails. Let's see. But whenever you do press down, I can feel it going into the paper since it is also a thinner nib. But it is actually quite malleable, which I think is very nice. But I definitely wouldn't really try to press this pen that hard. I don't think that's really what this is used for anyway. Yeah, I really wouldn't go there. But there is a tiny little bit of flex, and the nib is kind of bouncy and definitely pleasant to write with in that area, or just in general. Actually, it's very pleasant to write with. But I will be testing out this pen a little bit more. I'm still trying to social distance, so I don't know when I'll actually be able to bring this outside and use it as an everyday carry type of beater pen. But once I do, I will definitely let you guys know how that goes. And I will be coming out with an actual review of this pen after I've used it for some time, just to see if I have any gripes with it. One last thing I think I forgot to mention is that this pen is actually bigger than I thought it would be. When I think of a pocket pen, I don't think of this size. So I don't really know if I personally would classify this as a pocket pen per se, but I think it is a very suitable size for a transportable pen. I will do a more in-depth talk about it in my review, but for most people, this seems to be a pen that can be written without posting, which I think is also very great. I don't want to be sitting there trying to cap the pen when I am trying to take a quick note. And also, something else that I forgot to mention is that this pen seems wonderful for writing, especially if it's a quick note. Of course, I will have to test to see if I enjoy writing with it for a longer period of time, but it's not as heavy as people made it out to be, in my opinion. As you can see, I have tiny little girl hands, and if I can write with this comfortably, I think basically anyone can. My hands are abnormally small. Overall, I am actually very pleasantly impressed by this pen. I'm really blown away by this quality. It's actually definitely exceeded my expectations. So I think that is it for this video. If you liked, please like this video and subscribe, or disliked if you hated it, and I will see you in my next video. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so stay tuned for those. Bye! Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day.